Now then, the Conservatives have got a tough fight ahead of them for the European elections next month. With UKIP hot on his heels, David Cameron will be hoping his MPs toe the party line for the time being. Not likely, is it? As many as 40 of them are planning to rebel tomorrow in a crucial vote on HS2, the high-speed rail line linking London to the north of England. Well, Cheryl Gillan served in David Cameron's first cabinet but lost her job in the first reshuffle. She's been one of the most outspoken opponents of HS2 from within the party. And Michael Fabricant was vice chairman of the party until just a few weeks ago, when he was sacked, partly, he says, because of his views on HS2. It should be said that both Michael and Cheryl's constituencies would be affected by HS2. As you can see, they're nodding along. Let's say a very good morning to you. And let me ask you, I mean, not just about the case for HS2, but Cheryl, you know, causing trouble within the party. I was talking to Mary Cray, the Shadow Transport Secretary, and if he's going to win this vote, he has to do it with the help of Labour votes.
Well, Labour's blown hot and cold on this for a start, so they can hardly complain about someone like me. Or Michael. I've been consistent all the way through, right in the lead up to the last general election, and to be fair to the Prime Minister, he appointed me to his cabinet knowing that I opposed HS2 and obviously knowing that he was going to try and drive it ahead. But I think it's perfectly valid. I think you have to have a parliament where members of parliament whose constituencies are affected by various matters can speak out freely. After all, it is supposed to be the place in which we debate the great issues of the day. And I think spending £50 billion is a great issue, particularly after the economic nightmare we inherited when we came into government.
But would you think that, Michael Fabricant, if your constituency wasn't affected?
Well, I would hope that I would, actually, because though I support HS2 in principle, and I'm going to do Patrick McLaughlin's job now and say that between 5,000 and 10,000 people arrive at Euston every morning standing because there just isn't the rail capacity north-south, this present plan is seriously flawed. I mean, look, it doesn't link with HS1. So all these wonderful stories we had that we'd be able to go from Birmingham or Manchester in the morning and have croissant at lunchtime. Do you have croissant at lunchtime in Paris?
Anyway, what time you get
whatever.
Up, yeah.
Quite. Ain't going to happen because there's going to be no link with HS1. It doesn't link with the new London airport, whichever it's going to be, the extra runway. It's about as environmentally damaging the route as it possibly could be, not just in my constituency, not just in Cheryl's, but in others too. And unlike in other parts of the world and the rest of Europe, where it goes along existing transport corridors, it ploughs through countryside and therefore is much more expensive than it need be because of all the tunnelling.
But it's an argument that's going to take years and years and years to build. It's going to be an argument that goes on for years and years.
The committee will...
Well, yeah, but what about this rebellion, though? You know, the Prime Minister does not need this within your party with all the troubles. We'll get on to those in a minute, with all the troubles coming up about Europe.
Sometimes you have to do what's right, you know.
And hold on one second. The government will always try to get its business. That's absolutely right. Michael's been a whip. I've been a member of the cabinet. We would always try and get government business. But in this case, the government can rely on Labour votes going through the lobby. So, in fact, what we're actually saying is we're saying that for our constituencies and from our perspective, that we think that this project should be rethought
So Labour,
again.
do you go along with that, Michael Fabricant? Labour have freed you up. If Labour were against it, what would you do?
If Labour were against it, the rebellion would be a lot bigger than 40, I would tell you. Because, you know, the government whips, and as Cheryl says, I was a whip for 7 years, the government whips advised Number 10 that without having Labour support, the legislation wouldn't get through. Yeah. And I believe very, very clearly, you know, from all the consultations that we did, that if Labour weren't supporting it, the legislation wouldn't go through. It'd be double the amount of rebellion that we've got now. People are saying, well, if it's going to go through anyway, why use up our stocks with the whips? So probably, as you said earlier on, only 30 or 40 will rebel. But I can tell you that 80 to 100 people have really serious doubts, either about the principle of HS2, including its cost, or, as in my case, the implementation of HS2.
And Michael has made some very valid points here, Dermot, if you think about it, because he said that the connectivity has changed. The speed requirements have changed. The business case doesn't stack up. And the capacity...
This idea that if you use Wi-Fi on the train, you can do an awful lot of work.
Well,
even
exactly.
If it takes 20 minutes
the
longer.
business case was based, first of all, on there being no useful time spent on a train, which all of us know is complete and utter nonsense. And then you have to examine, is this really the project we need at the moment, linking just Birmingham and London? Because what we're talking about tomorrow is just Birmingham and London. I've always maintained if you really wanted to rebalance the north-south divide, you would look at starting this in the north, at connecting those northern cities and making sure you don't have that effect of sucking in business to London. Because in fact, if we build it Birmingham, London first, what we're doing is we're bringing the commuting distances closer to London. And it will inevitably, as it has in all other countries, it will start to suck that business into London. So I would have said to the government, stand back.
Okay.
Look at it in the north, start it
Right,
there.
I mean,
plan your airports, plan your future transport corridors, and then look at where you want to put it.
And it is crazy, you know, by the way. We've got the Davis review going into which is going to have the third runway. Which airport will it be? Boris Island, Heathrow, Timbuktu.
So you don't know where to put the railway line.
Exactly.
Not Boris Island.
Okay.